Go.
All right, guys, welcome to Beit Juhuro RAJE Fellowship. Today's class is a very, very special class. I'm very happy that all of you are here today because today we're going to hear from Manashe Khaimov. He's one of the most active and prominent leaders, young leaders in the Bukharian New York community. He's really worldwide known already. By now, he traveled far and close, spoke various places. Recently, he was in South Africa. He's one of the 30 under 30 most influential Jewish leaders. You know, so we're very happy that he's here with us today. And even though he's not Kavkazi, I really wanted him to talk, and you'll find out in a few minutes why. Because I think for us, as a Jewish community from a former Soviet Union, as a Jewish community who has Eastern traditions, Mizrahi, Sephardic traditions, we have a very, very good example of a community to look up to, people who already build infrastructure in New York and could share with us their experience and their knowledge and their skills. And I hope one of you will listen carefully and get inspired and become actually a Gorsky version of Manashe in our community. I really hope that one of you will take it, maybe hopefully more than one of you, but at least one of you will take it very close to heart and dedicate his life to community service in a professional way, not just like a volunteer. So without further ado, thank you very much, Manashe. Very, very honored to have you here. Thank you.
For inviting me. I think give a round big applause for Rabbi Israel. He's doing amazing work in the community, and the first time I met him, I saw how grateful, how passionate he is for his community, which is great. That's a great introduction you made. Now I have to perform on a high level. So my name is Manashe Khaimov. As Rabbi said that I'm not Kavkazi. It's okay, nobody's perfect. So there's a lot of things that Bukhari and Kavkazi Jews have in common. We'll get into it a little bit later if you're really interested. I actually teach at Queens College as a Jewish department, and specifically about Bukharian history and culture, and we talk about Kavkazi Jews, Persian Jews, and all of that. So if you guys are interested, we can talk about it. But my conversation today, the theme is, why is it important to be a Jewish professional, lay leader in a Kavkazi Jewish community? That's the topic that I want to talk to you about. But before I do it, let me just introduce myself, things that I do. So I came to America at the age of 14 from Uzbekistan, Samarkand, city. And when I got to America, I didn't speak English at all, and I came to my parents after I graduated FDR High School. I said, I think I want to go to college. I said, okay. And I said, what should I go for? What do you think they told me? Doctor. I said, I'm not going to do that. Or?
Barber, jeweler.
Barber, jeweler. What else? Accounting. You don't go college for that, but sure. Those other options also. A pharmacist. That's it. That was my options. I was like, barber, jeweler, this is a good option, but I want to go to college, see what's out there. So I went for accounting. Yeah. I went to Baruch College and got excited. Accounting, this is what I'm going to be doing. Took my first class, and I was like, oh my God, why in the world do I want to count somebody else's money? I don't want to do that. I hated it. So then I was walking around and trying to find myself some, mentors or some people who know what they're talking about and what they're doing. So I met this guy named Alex, and I said, at one of the Hillel events. So I got involved with Hillel right away because I felt like Hillel is an opportunity for me to connect with as many Jewish people possible. So I met this guy, Alex, and I said, what are you going for? He says, marketing. I said, cool. Sounds interesting. What's marketing? Start telling me about the psychology of like different things of how, there's a psychology of when you buy a certain color of a dress, apparently you didn't want that color. Somebody planted a seed in your head that the red dress is cute and that's why you have to wear it. And we're thinking, oh, I like red color, but it could be not because somebody planted it in you. And I love that idea. I said, I want to go for marketing. So I went for marketing, graduated with a marketing degree. But all of the time when I was there, I really felt that I would want to do something more within the Jewish community. So I was part of a Hillel club. First I got involved with a Russian club on campus. They called BARS, Baruch Association of Russian Students. Or BARS. No. So then I started being involved with Hillel, and I said, I want to do a lot of different things, but what can I do? So I ran for president of Hillel, and I became president. Put together lots of different events, transformative different things. And an interesting thing was that I felt that this is where I belong. Jewish life. But it was a little bit different. And then when I graduated, I started searching myself. I'm like, yes, I am Jewish. And Hillel really speaks to me, but it has to be something else. So I was looking and looking, got introduced to an organization called Ezra. Right? You probably know who Ezra, RAJE. Is it okay? Yeah, I think it's fine. So I was introduced to Ezra, and I went to Birthright with them. After that, I really wanted to do something in the community. Became Madrich of Ezra. Took a couple trips to as a Birthright as like a leader. Did leadership trainings with people. Really loved it. Really loved to be in front of people. Marketing was part of it. Everything was in it. But then I felt like, listen, yes, I'm Jewish. Hillel speaks to me. Yes, I speak Russian, or I would hide my identity and say I'm Russian. God forbid, don't ask me what's Bukhari, because I haven't a clue what it means myself. But I'll say Russian just to, get people off my back. But I felt like it's still not me. I felt like I was hiding my identity just to fit in. That's what I was doing throughout the whole time. Then I went to the Bukhari Jewish community, and I tried to search something in the community. And guess what? There was nothing, absolutely nothing, where I'd be able to go and volunteer, or do something productive, or create something on my own. It didn't exist. There were some organizations happened, it was run by one person or two people. They really tried to start something up, but it didn't really work out. So luckily I got an internship at an organization called JCCA. It's a huge New York organization, social service agency. The program called Bukhari Teen Lounge, to work with Bukhari teens. And my job was there to market specifically for Bukhari teens to come to the center, which is a hard job to do, because if you want to market anything, you just market it, you put ads, and everybody's going to come in. But if you want to target specific community to make sure that it only reaches to them, it's really hard to do, especially those days when Facebook wasn't so advanced with segmenting their marketing tools of where they want to do it. And that kind of brings me back, and I became what today people call Jewish professional. So, and that's how I got involved in the Bukhari Jewish community, not only being Bukharian, but also being there and doing certain things. And then I started seeing different things happening in the community, and I wanted to make change. And I'll tell you a little bit more on the stuff that I did. But I want to ask you a question. I give you paper and pen. Why don't you take it? I know you're eating, enjoy your meal, but I just want to ask you a question. And if you don't have a paper, just maybe you could come up with you yourself. When you think of a word, paying forward, what are the first three things that come to your mind? Just write it down. Paying forward. Three things that come to your mind. Paying forward. Three things that come to your mind. Here, take your paper, pen and paper, maybe it will be helpful. Paying forward. Paying, like giving, yes, money, but it's not what it is. Second word, I want you to think about it. Jewish professional. When you hear a word Jewish professional, two words actually, Jewish professional, three things that come to your mind.
Remember one day he was very upset.
And then the last word I'm going to ask you to do is volunteer or lay leader. Whichever word you want to choose, you get to choose. Volunteer or lay leader. If you hear any of those two words, three things that come to your mind.
What's the second one?
Lay leader. Oh, Jewish. The second, Jewish professional. So first word is paying forward. Second word is a Jewish professional. And the third is volunteer or lay leader. Three things that come to your mind. All right, anybody would like to share? Am I going too fast? Yeah, good. Yes, you would like to share. Tell me your name.
Mazalia.
Hi, Mazal.
So for pay forward,
Yeah.
giving, kindness, and helping.
Specifically to anybody or just?
Oh, those are the words that I was thinking.
Okay, no problem.
For, what was the second? Young, Jewish professional.
Jewish professional.
I wrote young, active, and well-known. And for volunteer, I wrote selfless, no pay, community.
Okay. Anybody else would like to join? Thank you very much. Yeah.
Sure. Diana, for the first one, I did gratitude, kindness, giving back. For the second one, I have kosher food, holidays, off, and success.
Jewish professional. Okay, and the third one?
And third one, hard work, time, commitment,
And what is it?
giving back.
Giving back. That's for the lay leader and volunteering.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else from the male side? Male voices? Fight for it. Yes, no? All right. So why would we talk about these terms? A lot of times you will hear a word paying forward, which means that when I was in Hillel, for example, any trip I went to Israel or anywhere else, it was partially covered by that organization. So today, in order for me to pay forward to that organization, anywhere where I worked, I try to plug in and connect people to that organization. One way I could pay forward, and I've done that. Second way, I could go and work for that organization and, try to create that movement and continue going with their movement. Second way of doing it. And the third way of doing it could be actually giving them money or giving other organizations money or sustaining. So these are three ways that I could do it. Anybody disagree with that? Agree with that? Don't throw shoes at me. Yes. Oh, you agree. Okay, great. Thank you. Second word was Jewish professional. Anybody, give me one word that you come up with. What are you thinking about Jewish professional? Yeah? Yeah.
A Jewish person in the working force?
Okay, so if you're an accountant and you're Jewish, are you Jewish professional?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. How many of you are planning to be a Jewish professional here?
I hope so.
Okay. Yes, you guys said.
Besides being a worker, you're basically like a leader or have an expertise in an area and happen to be Jewish. So it could be, I'm an accountant, Jewish professional, I'm active in that profession and working to improve in that area.
Right, so you kind of take it more literal sense to it, which could also mean Jewish professional, but a lot of times people use the term Jewish professional as people who are working in a non-profit organizations and they are working as a directors of a Jewish nonprofit. That would be a Jewish professional. If people first start working at a camp and then now they're becoming an engagement or some sort of they work for Hillel or they work for, I don't know, Beit Juhuro, if they have staff or anybody else, that would be Jewish professionals. So if you're an accountant, you're a young professional, you could be a young Jewish professional, but that term wouldn't usually used for that. So like I consider myself Jewish professional, because I tell you what I do in a minute. And the third word would be volunteer. What would be the volunteer? Yeah.
Experience.
Perfect, right? Somebody who just want to do volunteer, like you guys had a blood drive. People came and volunteered their blood to give out, right? So we do that a lot of times. I personally been volunteer for most of my basically college life and post-college life. And then there is a word called lay leader. Lay leader would be what you describe. What's your name?
Laser.
Laser. Eliezer?
Yeah.
So, let's say you're an accountant and you would like to sit on the board of Beit Juhuro, and you want to contribute financially to make sure that these type of programs continue happening, you would be considered to be a lay leader. Let's say I'm going to get hired by Rabbi Ephraim to work to help you guys to get this thing going, I would be considered to be a Jewish professional. Or if, let's say, I'm going to come and say, Rabbi Ephraim, I just want to come and help you out, I'm going to consider volunteer. All of these things, the reason why I'm telling you, it's not about to be more technical about terminology, but about there's a field of doing so many things for your community, and there's lots of pockets where you could fit yourself in, just knowing what exactly you would want to do. Okay? Are we clear so far? So for example, right now I work for an organization called Hillel, Queens College Hillel. My job is Director of Community Engagement and Development. So basically what I do is, and I engage students on college campus back to their communities. So I work majority with Bukharian students on campus. We have 1,000 Bukharian Jews that could go to Queens College. So my job is to work with them on campus and then connect them back to organizations that exist in their communities. So then there is some sort of connection. I work with Persian students, and then I connect them back in Great Neck and Roslyn with the communities, organizations, so they continue working. If, let's say, I would have a big number of Russian-speaking Jews, then I would, and I know they're going to go back to Brooklyn, but I don't have those students, but let's say, I would connect them back to RAJE. Let's say I would work with Kavkaz Jews on my campus, or like Brooklyn College, let's say if they're working with Kavkaz Jews on their campuses, they would connect them back to the organization like this. So that's the job that I do, creating those type of bridges and engaging people. Second part of my work is fundraising and development. Going into communities and asking people to donate to organization. How many of you feel that in order to donate to an organization, you have to be a, I don't know, rich person? How many of you feel that way? So we know that we could donate any time, right? Whatever amount, $36, $100, all count, and that's where majority of donations coming in. So so that's another work that I do. And throughout my work, whatever I do, I also volunteered in different organizations. I volunteered at Limud FSU. How many of you heard about Limud FSU? It's a conference, right? It's every month there is a conference somewhere all around the world. So I volunteered for Limud FSU in New York, helped them to organize the conference, volunteered for Ezra USA, I mentioned, and FSU, former Soviet Union, Jews from former Soviet Union. That's what it stands for, huh? Limud, yes. And something recently that 2 years ago, I was looking around in our community and I said, listen, I work with teenagers right now. Then there's a job that's going on at Queens College with Hillel. But then when the Bukharian students come back to a community, there's nothing for them. If they're connected to synagogues and they're part of a young minyan, they're, in a sense, they're fine. But we have lots of people in the community that don't go to synagogue. They're not connected to synagogue. They go to synagogue high holidays, Pesach, like big holidays, and I'm sure in Kavkazi community have similar challenges, but they're not connected. So what do you do with those people? So we created, with a group of volunteers and lay leaders, we created an organization called Bukharian Jewish Union. How many of you heard about it? Amazing. 2 people, 3, wow, we're doing good. 4, 5, all right, that's it, sold. So the basic thing about Bukharian Jewish Union is we basically create a networking opportunities for Bukharian people to come and meet each other. That's it. That was the bottom line. And we do that through a networking event. We do that. We just took first APIC trip to Uzbekistan with young professionals. And then what you see happening right now with you guys, going to, Baku and those places where your ancestors are from. So we did a similar thing. We do comedy night, annual comedy night, where we bring in Bukharian comedians and give them a platform to perform. And it doesn't mean they speak Bukharian language; they just do it in English. But we having a Bukharian person giving them a platform to present. We also start doing Biju talks, which is like Biju is our acronym, Bukharian Jewish Union. It's like TED Talks, where we bring in Bukharian professionals who are doing something unconventional. So we have, I don't know how many of you know Vine, for example, right? Vine application. Did you know the co-founder of it is a Bukharian Jew, Rossi Yusupov? So for example, we would want to bring him and give him a platform to kind of speak and then bring people to connect with him. Ricky Cohen, probably you know about him, right? We brought him to our Biju talks. I presented several times in terms of Bukharian history. Another one I'm doing in April, a talk that's going to be called, very controversial in the community. It's going to be called "Everything You Know About Bukharian Jewish Wedding is Wrong" with a question mark. So I'm doing the whole presentation about that. Basically providing people a platform to come and speak the field that they are more comfortable in. And you see a tremendous growth. We started with 125 mailing lists. Today we have about 1,250 people on our mailing list. And it's the people that opt in themselves that want to be part of it. Since August, up to date, every event that we put together was sold out events. And that shows that people really want to be part of something interesting, something in the community. Right? We don't do any dance parties. We don't do any events that are around holidays. And we do this on purpose. Why? Because there's already things happening in the community around holidays. Hanukkah party, Purim party, there's 15 of those. There's already something around dancing going on. Every other organization doing some sort of a dancing thing. So we decided to create something interesting that would interest us and then also interest the people. How many of you think paid people in that organization? 17? 17. That's a nice number. One part-time person. One part-time person. All of the people that are around, they're all volunteers. We have lawyers on our board, we have accountants on our board, we have students on our board. Everybody who sits on the board contributes financially and also to give their time, which was like mind-blowing in a Bukharian community. I'm sure in Kavkaz and in a Russian community is the same thing. I have to give money and give my time. What do you say? I'll just give time and that's it. Or I just give money. So it was like a whole culture shift where the people around the table sat down and said, we're going to give money because we believe in this cause. And then we're going to put together projects for the people in our community. And they give you their time. And it's a lot of work that puts together. Just to show you a couple of things. How many of you would think that they want to go in a non-profit world and work in non-for-profit? No? How many of you don't think you're going to do it 100%? Yes, why not? Why? Why do you think that?
I want to be a scientist.
Okay. How many of you have negative connotation with being in non-profit world? Yes, no, nobody? Yeah.
I don't think it's negative, I think it's just a lot harder to make good money, and in this day and age.
So how much money is a good money for you? No,
I don't know, I mean, with a Jewish family and sending your kids to school, probably in the 300s.
300,000 for the whole family, or just one person to
No,
bring in?
probably for the whole family.
What about one person? What would you say? Because whole family is half, $150,000. So if I'll tell you that today, working as a non-profit person, you could make that money, would you believe me?
No.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people out there that think that not-for-profit people make $40,000 a year. They don't. Maybe the beginners. But there's organizations out there that pay a certain amount of money, and you could make up to, you know, the CEO of big major nonprofit make from $300,000 to $500,000. And you know, senior levels you could make $100,000 and up. They make $80,000, $90,000 and up. So there is those rooms doing those things. Another good thing about not-for-profit, especially Jewish non-profit, is that there is Jewish holidays you off. I know a lot of people, my friends, who work for major corporations, making the money that you're talking about. Let's say 120 they're making. But all the holidays, all the weekend, the vacations they have, let's say they have 20 days, they have to use majority of them on the Jewish holidays if they want to continue having a Jewish lifestyle. If they're not observant, they don't care. But let's say you're an observant Jew and if you want to continue doing it, you got to take all your vacations. So the only time you have for vacation is maybe like 5 days. We're talking about paid vacation when you go on vacation and you're getting paid for it. So in the Jewish nonprofit, majority of them, they pay you for your holidays. You're off on your holidays. Sometimes you work from home on the regular federal holidays. And then you have like 15 to 20 paid vacation. 20 days, which is 20 business days. So we're talking about 4 weeks. So if you're not thinking about that field, maybe you could start thinking about it, because being a Kavkazi Jew, Gorsky Jew today as a professional, and that's the reason why I chose that field, for example, is because I felt like, where is going to be the place where I'm going to be the only one who, with my skill set and with what I'd be able to bring to the table? Accounting? How many Bukhari's accounting you know out there? If you just take the community, forget about it. Because going in the American field, it's extremely hard to get in. But let's say just around the Bukhari community. How many Bukhari's accountants do you know? Thousands, right? No? Alright, how many Gorsky accountants do you know? So maybe Kavkaz's community is a little bit different. But like in the Bukhari community, like every other person is an accountant. How many pharmacists in the Bukhari community? A lot. Dentists, it's like my three cousins are dentists, and you know, it's like a lot of people. Nurses, a lot of people in the Bukhari community. Lawyers, you know, every single person is a lawyer. So like, what is it something that could be unique and me, I'd be able to stand out? So I chose not-for-profit management. I went for grad school for that. Oh, there's grad school for that? Yes, there is. My master's in community organizing, planning, and development. Took it at Hunter College as a grad student. And how many Bukharians do I know that do a similar job that I do in New York? 4 or 5. That's it. That's it. So, meaning that if any major Jewish organizations will need a skill set of a Bukhari person, there's only 5 people applying. So I'm just trying to kind of give you the idea of like why it's good to be, you know, help the community on a volunteer basis, and I'm sure you guys are already doing it, which is amazing. B, if you're not thinking about it as a profession, maybe that could be a field of thinking, because it's a pretty good field, and there's not so many people from this community in that field. Almost not existing. I mean, maybe there are. Again, maybe there are some few people that are out there. And another reason why I went into this field is because I said, majority of people in the Bukharian community who are working with the community, it's usually relatives. Do you have a similar thing here in this community? Yes or no? So like, it's it's almost impossible to find somebody who's like not a rabbi and doing work with the community. So, and I've been working, and I've been fortunate, I've been working, majority of the organization I worked for was a major, one of the largest organizations, for example, JCCA. We're talking about 2,000 employees. I worked right now for Queen's College Hillel. Hillel International has 550 chapters all around the nation. Plus there's another 30 around the world. We just had a convention at Ohio, Cleveland, and it was 1,200 professionals from all around the world. France, Russia, Brazil, everywhere. So my also thinking was like, not what kind of job do I want to do, but what kind of lifestyle I would like to have. And I always said I love traveling. How many of you love traveling? How many of you wish that traveling would be part of your work? Right? Not intensive, not like every week, but like 3 times a year you'd be able to go and travel. So that's what I do. So like, just to go on the trainings and other stuff, I have about one or two trips that I'm taking as part of my work, and then there's other opportunities come up. So that's why to me it's very interesting, and this is something that I would want to do, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Any questions so far? What is it?
How was your undergrad school program experience?
It was amazing. It's part of a social work school. It's part of so I have MSW. It's part of social work school. So, but social work has two fields: the counseling part and the community organizing. So I did a lot of community organizing, a lot of policy making. So basically, with my degree, I could work at a Jewish nonprofit, or I could go and work in the politics and policy making. Yes. Any more questions? How many more time we have? That's all. So I have some pictures that I want to show you, and other perks of being a not-for-profit as a volunteer. Let's forget about being a professional. As a volunteer. What's your name? What is it? Kevin. Let's say, what do you want to do?
Fitness, nutrition.
Fitness, nutrition. So let's say, I don't know how far you want to go with it, but let's say if you want to meet mayor of New York today, as part of your field, do you think it would be easy for you to get in to get that meeting set up? No, why not?
I don't have affections.
So usually politicians or like people out there would love to connect with people who are involved with the community. So let's say if I'm going to call somebody, hey, my name is Manashe, I'm an accountant, and I would like to come and sit in one of your meetings, maybe I could go. Maybe they'll come in, but it's less likely that like my phone number will get picked up. But like if I'll say, hey, my name is Manashe and I represent the Bahrain Jewish community, we have about 70,000 Bahrain Jews, 30,000 of them young professionals, I would like to come and speak to you and talk to you about things that are going on in the community. Most likely I'm going to get that meeting. And that's why, for example, if you want to get yourself out there much faster and get those connections much faster, I would urge you to be part of organizations. Because let's say you want to go, how many of you want to, like, what other fields do you guys are thinking? Just call out. Medicine. So let's say you want to go into medicine and you want to have the right connections, which today you must have right connections. In the medical field, then if you're part of some sort of an organization that do certain things with hospitals, for you it's much faster to get those connections than for anybody else in the medical field. I tend to have a lot of students sometimes who are in the medical field, they're like, I want to do school, and then I'm going to do this. They do schooling. When they get out, they're like, all right, what do I do next? But if you're part of organizations, it's much faster for you to create those connections and networks almost like immediately. You know, you become part of a medical committee, and then you create a blood drive that you had over here, and then you set up connections. And then one thing would lead to another, you get invited, you get this, you get that. Tomorrow you come in with a resume not only of your stuff, what you do academically and what you know, with your experience, but also you have a whole community behind you, supporting you, and kind of like giving you that big booster. So it's a huge networking opportunity to be part of any nonprofit that you could be part of. It could be to help you to boost your profession. It could be just to be, part of Likud FSU. Something interesting, something cool, something international that you could do. Any other professions? Big data. That's you again? In the medical field still? So I want to show you something because it's not like I'm bragging about it, but I just want to show you. This is the Bahrain Jewish Union. We just got an award first time for doing a great thing in the community from JFK Democratic Club. It's not because that's what we support, Democrat or Republican, I don't want to get political here, but it's more just because they recognize our work and we receive the award. Probably recognize some of the people. That's me if you still don't. Yeah. We do the comedy every year. It's one of our biggest and sold out show, 120 people this year. And we educated the community to buy tickets at halftime. So in the Bahrain community, it was very hard to sell tickets ahead of time. People come at the door, you have a big line. And we said 3 days before the event, we're not going to sell any tickets. And people will start buying. So we sold about 100 tickets before the event even started. So, and then 3 days after, we sold out the rest. So that's not the thing. Again, we're working with the community, we're providing what they want, but we also have to figure out how we could do it. This is Scott Stringer, second in command. after Bill de Blasio. You know him? So had a meeting with him. He talked about it. He's actually want to run for mayor, so he's gathering people together. I'm just showing you this because, for example, I'm getting in there as a Jewish professional, but the people standing with me, if you see, there are people in the business world, but they need that connection. So, for example, this is de Blasio himself. That's our mayor, right? So this is Yasmin. She's on our board. She's a student right now. She's a grad student, but she's already having this type of exposure and connection just because she volunteers in an organization. Alex Cohen, I don't know who you know him. He's a lawyer, so he's getting himself out there as well. So imagine if Alex Cohen wouldn't be part of the Bukhari Jewish Union. He would just be an Alex Cohen who's a lawyer. That's it. Now he has an additional piece that helps him to do it. I don't know how much he's going to leverage and use that, but he could always do it. We got invited to Austrian government to light a candle lighting with them. I'm sure you know about Holocaust story, right? Vienna, it's one of the biggest places also where a lot of Jews were killed. So this is more like a signature of showing that they're tolerant and they are, supporting Jews and they're lighting a candle. We did it together with AJC. That's my a one-on-one with the mayor picture, and then other perks you get, meaning you get connected. This is much younger of me, without beard yet, without kids. I get without kids. No, that's Fox 5 News. That's Fox 5 News. They invited me and somebody else and this woman from I think Yamna community to talk about how do we celebrate Pesach in different communities. And I was representing obviously Kavkaz community, no Bukhari community. Just checking if you guys listen. And there I have some pictures of of when you get yourself out there and you get yourself an exposure, then you start getting noticed and then people start inviting you. So for example, this past summer I was in Limud, South Africa. It wasn't Limud FSU, it's the general Limud, the American, not American, but the British one they got there. So I was presenting on various topics.
Find any diamonds?
No, I didn't find any diamonds. But this is South Africa presenting about Bahrain history and culture. This is something that I tend to do a lot now, aside of my nonprofit work, that I want to spread the word so that people would know who Bukharians are, where we came from. In all my talks, I talk about Kavkaz Jews as well, because I studied that part as well, part of the world. So I talk about that, so don't worry. People in South Africa heard about you guys as well, which is amazing. I do talk about Ashkenazi Jews during the period of settlement, because during that time, Bukhari Jews will be able to travel very, very, freely, and the biggest rich class came out during that time, while Ashkenazi Jews were in the period of settlement. The Cheptoy Siedlesti, I don't know if you guys know that story, but that was part of it as well. So that's just something that I do right now as a side of anything else. If I get invited, I go out there and I speak. And then this is another last picture. I don't know if you know him. This is a CEO of UJ Federation. He came and visited one of my sites that I used to work, where I was a director, and he came and he showed up. So all of this I tried to show you, again, not to brag about it, but more to show you how well connected you get. Unless if you already have those connections, and you could say, Manashe, we have connections, we don't have to do it. Amazing. But if you don't, non-profit world and also organizations and your community in particular could be the channel for you to connect you to the proper places. If this is something that you're looking for. And also, obviously, if one of you, like Rabbi Ephraim was talking about, is interested in starting something on your own, creating some sort of a subset of in your community, something interesting, something you have passion about it, I could always leave my contacts. You could connect with me, and we could talk about it, how to set something up. But it would be amazing to see more stuff going on in the community, and obviously it pays back. There's a huge reward behind it. Any questions? Comments? suggestions. Now, should we take a picture together?
Guys, any questions? By the way, you don't need to be working a Jewish professional to do non-for-profit work. As you'll see in a few minutes, we're going to break you up in groups, and you'll see that each of you will be able to impact the community in your own way. And it's one of the most rewarding things you could ever experience. It's really, that's the price. That's the price.
Something interesting, the most rewarding part is when I was part of Ezra, Ezra had this motto, which I think a lot of organizations should replicate, where every cohort like you guys would have to come up before the trip or after the trip. They have to come up with some sort of project that they want to put together in a community. And the beautiful part, for example, they created this project called Veteran Appreciation Project. I don't know how many of you participated or heard about it, but it started with, did you guys hear about it? Veterans Appreciation, where they, on May 9th, there's a bunch of Jewish people go out and they buy gifts and they go to veterans, World War II veterans, and they give out prizes. And then, then there's somebody from a Kavkazi community came and he said, we also have World War II veterans in our community. Let's bring that into us. And then they start doing it in the Kavkazi community. But it's just a group of people started it and then expanded, and I think this is their 10th year now. And Ezra not doing it anymore, and then RAJE picked up, and Kajeko picked it up, which is another organization. And then in the Bukharian community, I called and I said, hey, let's us be part of it as well. So now we have a massive movement just from these small cohort that came to the classes like you guys did, that created this project, and it became impactful, similar with Bukharian Jewish Union. We sat together like you guys, and we said, what's bothering us today? And we said that there is no place for Bukharian Jewish people to get together. We started one event, one meeting, and one thing led to another. Then we found some funding, we donated our own money, we created something interesting. So there's lots of ways you could do it. There's a lot of volunteer out there, and there's lots of resources there, and I'm sure there are going to be people that are going to help you out.
Manashe, I remember one time you showed at Limud, you showed the project video recording made by, I think, Bukharian Teen Lounge, maybe?
Yeah.
Interviewing the
World War II veterans.
Yeah, could you talk about this project 2-3 minutes?
Sure. So we did this project called Untold Story About Bukharian Jews, and the reason why it started because there were a few teenagers that I worked with, and they said, listen, we go to public school and we learn about Anna Frank and the Holocaust. How come our grandparents are not part of that story? So we said, let's research. What is it? Right. But I'm saying that the Bukharians were not part of the story, and then that they didn't know why. So I knew why at that moment, but I didn't want to tell them, all right, let me tell you the story. I said, go out and ask your grandparents. Start asking their grandparents, and they came back and said, oh, you know what? My grandfather, he was fighting in the war. Another one said, yes, my grandfather did too. Another one said, oh, you know, he was by Berlin. This one was there, Stalingrad. And then we created a whole project where we went with the camera and started recording World War II veterans. The oldest one we recorded was 99 years old, and he told us a story about like who they were, what they did. And this is an amazing movie today. You could watch. It's only 17 minutes. You could write Bukharian lens. That's the name of it, meaning learning Bukharian history through a lens. And it was a fascinating project where students are learning about and preserving the history and stories, because to be honest, a lot of people don't know where Kavkazi Jews were or where Bukharian Jews were. Right? There is also a big story about Tat Jews that also in a Kavkazi community, where what happened with them when the Nazi Germany came and how the Jewish people lived, coincided and hid it and did all of these things. There's lots of stories out there, and if today we're not going to do anything about it, nobody's going to remember. And there is going to be a moment, and I think that's the reason why I continue doing what I'm doing. There's going to be a moment where there's a woman from London. She's a 4th generation living in London, and one day she woke up and said, oh, my great-grandparents are Bukharian. or descendant from Bukhara. I need to go out there and learn. So she went all the way to Uzbekistan and started doing all this digging and searching. And then they told her, go to Israel and learn more about it. And then she went to Israel and she learned that there's a whole community preserved. And she was like, oh, I wish only if my grandparents told me about it. I wish if my parents would told me about it. And she lost it. So like, there's going to be a moment, maybe it doesn't kind of kicks you right now. There's going to be a moment in your life where your kids might wake up one day and they're going to say, what's Kavkazi Jews? What's Gorsky? Does that mean we lived in the mountains? Oh wow, what is that all about? You know, like, and sometimes you might not have a narrative. Not only that, if you don't invest time now, there might not be any narrative. There might not be any stuff written about it, and nobody's going to know about it. So like, it's up to you, and I want to leave you with this interesting quote that kind of like keeps me going by Peter Drucker. And he said an interesting thing. He said, the best way to predict future is to create it. And I think this is the line I go by. You know, instead of thinking, what's going to be with Kavkazi community 10 years from now? What's going to be with the Bukhari community 50 years from now? Don't think about it. Create what you want it to be. And that's what I want to leave you with. Thank you very much. I hope that
Guys, let's take one quick picture. Yeah?
yes.
Guys,